Hey guys, welcome to the Calvinist Contradiction. And today we are continuing our search for Calvinism and the tenets of Calvinism in the opening chapters of the Bible. Now, I see in the comments a lot of you want to skip to Exodus, one of my favorite books. We will get there. I saw a comment in the comment section that said, "Where is Calvinism in the whole Bible?" That's the point. That's where we're heading. We're going to get into more books, ask questions. We're going to go through Romans. And show that the Calvinistic interpretation or the Calvinistic rendering, because of their deterministic theology, is not the only way to read that book. We will get into that. But I just wanted to say thank you guys for sharing these messages. Thank you for viewing them. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your conversations. Even if you don't agree with my conclusions, I really thank you for it. It just is helping a conversation to be started. And I can't thank you guys enough. Again, I can't respond to every single comment in the comment section. I would love to, but I just don't have the time. I have three small children. I have a wife. I have multiple ministries in Asia Minor where I live. I run businesses. And so, a pretty busy dude. So, I can't respond to everybody, but I just like to hop on there before I make these videos real quick and respond to whatever I can. And so, I'm really sorry if I haven't been able to get back to you. Keep on doing it, and hopefully, I'll be able to get to you one day. Please share this video, hit the like button, and pray about supporting my ministry. Again, I do this all pro bono. I am on support over here. I have a church in Asia Minor where we have local believers coming to the Lord Jesus, and so we are just pretty busy. But I love doing this, and I thank you so much. So let's get in here. I have the link to the chapter right there in the comment section. And today we're in Genesis 16. We're going to get into some really cool stuff today that I think I'm just going to have to make a whole nother video on, so I don't go super long. But we talked about Genesis 16 yesterday. Let's get into this. And now this is just Genesis 17, and we'll start at the beginning. Now, when Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, "I am God Almighty. Walk before me and be blameless." I'm going to cut in right here because we talked about this, okay, that this theophany, he's appearing to Abraham again. This is like the third time that he's appearing to him in a man's form. We know this in chapter 19, in a couple chapters. He's going to recognize when he's like the visible man walking. He recognizes him, and he sacrifices, or he gives him food and does all this stuff. And it's a really cool chapter. We're going to get into that, but it's a man theophany. So theophany is how God reveals himself to humanity, and he does this so that they will know him, because a formless spirit is hard for us to decipher. And so he comes in the form. This is the second power of heaven. This is the second power of the Trinity in New Testament theology, in the form of a man. And that's what he's doing here. And my question is, why? If he is just meticulously controlling Abraham to do everything, what is the point of a theophany? What could be the point of a theophany? Like I said, the biblical interpretation of a theophany is so that God can reveal himself to a humanity in a way that they can understand, even if it's a still small voice, or a, whirlwind of fire, or a pillar of smoke. The theophany just doesn't mean in man's form. I'm saying one of the theophanies is in man's form. And obviously, that's Jesus, as the New Testament tells us, that uh, he is the visible form of the invisible God. And so, but what I want to ask Calvinists here is, determinism. Okay, God meticulously controls all things. I just responded to a brother who said, God, God doesn't rape small children. That's what I always use, because that's John Piper's language, or at least John Piper's endorsed language from his um, in Desiring God website. That, here's the quote: "As unimaginable as it might seem to us, from the killings of Dennis Rader, where he ate people, to the horrors in Auschwitz and Birkenau, where they killed millions of people in gas chambers, to even the rape of young children, it's not God allowing it, it's him doing it." Okay? But this brother comes on to the comment section, he says, "Oh, it's not God doing it. It is what? God, it's evil men that God is making them do it. There's no difference. God is meticulously controlling. Okay, my friend, he meticulously controls. You don't like the word puppet. It's the right word. You don't like the word robot. Not you personally, my friend. Like Calvinist or Reformed theology, doctrines of grace, whatever, tulip systematic, whatever you want to go by. They don't like puppet because it doesn't sound good. That's the truth. They don't like robot even though that's the truth. But they like clay because clay's in the Bible. So, okay, clay being formed, God makes them do every single thing. Go rape this kid, go murder these Jews, go do this. It's him doing. So you just saying that it's God, it's evil people that God's making it do. It's God making them do it out of your own mouth. Deterministic theology or worldview that you can't see the inherent evil in this nature that you're ascribing to God. God forbid. But my question to you, Mr. Determinist or Mrs. Determinist, is walk before me. Well, everybody that's a Calvinist who's been responding in the comment section has been saying, well, God made him walk. You know, God's call. We talked about this in Genesis 12 a lot. I did a own video on this. Is that God? A brother in the comments said God spoke to Abraham, leave your father's house. He made him. No, we talked about this yesterday. Not because it's as the Lord spoke, not because the Lord spoke. It's not cause and action. It's a leave your father's house, and he's okay. I'm going to leave the house. He makes a decision, a volition of the will, and he does it again here. He keeps doing this throughout Genesis. That's why we went back to the beginning of the Bible and says the volition of the will. Okay, the freedom of the will is what God is saying right here. Walk before me and be blameless. He doesn't, I'm going to make you walk before me and be blameless. He doesn't do that. We know Abraham doesn't do that. Okay? I will establish my, I'm going back into the text. This is number two. So determinist, where's the language here? It's not here. So I diverse. Number two. I will establish my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you exceedingly. Abram fell on his face. The Lord talked to him, saying, As before me, behold, as for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you will be the father of a multitude of nations. No longer shall your name be Abram, you shall be called Abraham, for I have made you the father of multiples of nations. God did that. It was that's God doing that for him. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings will come forth from you. I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you throughout the generations for an everlasting covenant to be God to you and to your descendants after you. I will give you and all of your descendants after you the land of your sojourning, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. I will be their God. Okay, so I just wanted to break in here real quick and say there was a question in the comment that I saw I wasn't able to respond to, but it was like, the epochs. So it's obviously God and Abraham, God and Adam and Eve, and they're together. But then our question is, they say, Calvinists say, total inability happens after the fall. You are unable, you are unable to come to the Lord. I think somebody said, all we ever do is just sin. We can't do anything other than that. And do we really see that in the biblical text in Genesis 4? No, we don't. We see God having a relationship with Cain, and he's telling him, you can overcome your sin, and it will go good for you. And then all the way up into Babel. Okay, this is the epoch, the epic, whatever it is. I have Turkish, and I have the other, oh, um, oh my gosh, the other language in my brain. Sorry, guys, I operate in two languages over here. And so from then until Genesis 12, and really here, this is the establishment of it. Genesis 17 is God, this is Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9, that he gave the world over to other gods. He gave the people over to other gods at Babel, okay? Not at Genesis 3. At Babel, he does this. This is, uh, this is Psalms 82. He gives them over. This is where the pantheon of the world comes from. This is where Allah comes from, where I live at. Allah. This regional deity. This is where this comes from. The Lord hands them over. That's what they wanted. He gives them what they wanted, and then he chooses what? Abraham as his portion, and his descendants, Jacob as his portion. And so that's what we're seeing here. Is the end of the first epic to the beginning of this next one, where it's through Israel God establishes his relationship with whoever. We're going to see this in the Exodus account that people come to know the Lord. That was his purpose of the Exodus account, and they join into the family. And so, just wanted to kind of make that clear because there was some comments in the comment section that oh, well, God never talked to him. Yes, he did, all the way up until um, Genesis 11. You had relationship with everybody. That's what it says. And then he hands them over to the nations, over to these territorial deities who at first were supposed to do as Yahweh did. That's Psalm 82. This is, testamental theology here, intertestamental theology. And so let's jump back into here. Just want to clear that up real quick. So God said, this is 9. God said further to Abraham, "Now as for you, you shall keep my covenant in you and your descendants after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you, your descendants after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised." Okay? That's what they have to do. Again, volition of the will. I'm going to make you be circumcised. You must do this to be a part of the covenant. I'm going to skip throughout this circumcision stuff and go to 14, and it says, "But circumcision in the flesh of the foreskin, that a person shall be cut off uh, but an uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that person shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant." Volition of the will again. You must be circumcised. What? To be a part of the people. Okay? That's what he's saying here. If you don't do that, you're not a part of the people. You are cut off, broken off from the covenant. Volition of the will, guys. It's not saying I'm going to deterministically circumcise you. Then God said to Abraham, 15, as for your wife, she's going to do all this. You're going to skip down. I don't want to make this video too long. Um, so he says that from 15 to 18 that it's going to be Sarah. Her name's not Sarah anymore. It's Sarah, and through her is going to become the blessed. Let's just read it because this will be good. We're going to go a little bit longer today. Sorry, guys. Then God said to Abraham, "As for Sarah, your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah. She shall Sarah shall be her name. I will bless her, and indeed I will give you a son by her, and then I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of the nations. Kings and peoples will come from her." Then Abram fell on his face and laughed and said, "Will a child be born to a man 100 years old? And will Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear a child?" And Abraham said to God, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before you." But God said, "No, but Sarah, your wife, shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard you." Again, he asks out of the volition of his will, "Will you bless this one? I already have him." No, you have to trust in my promise. I'm going to bless the one to come. Then he says, "But I will bless him because you asked me. I heard. Where is that? As for Ishmael, I have heard you. You just asked me, I heard you." That's what he's saying here. Not, I'm going to make him because I determined it before the foundation of the world. We don't see that here. You asked me, volition from the will. Um, and behold, I will bless him, and I will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. He shall become the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac from Sarah. I will bear to you at this season next year. When he finished talking to him, God went up from Abraham. Abraham took Ishmael and his sons and his servants who were born in his house, and all who were brought with money, every male among the men of Abraham's household, and circumcised the flesh of his foreskin in that very day, because God had told him. No, that's not it. Mis- Deterministic people out there. It says this actually, that very same day as God said to him. Now, Abraham was 90 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, and Ishmael was 13. You see what happened there? Break this yoke from off your back, my deterministic friends. It's not there. He said, you must do this. This is a part of the covenant. And what does he go and do? It literally says, then Abraham took Ishmael, his son, and all of his servants, everybody that was in his house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in that very same day as God had said to him, volition of the will. Not because God had said to him, not because God had made him, not because God deterministically controls all things, not because before the foundation of the world he made him do this, not because any of this Calvinistic, deterministic, reformed baloney sauce. No, it's because of the volition of his will. He does this. He doesn't do this. Broken off from the covenant. Now, one thing I want to get in here, and we're getting a little further along, and this is like the big thing I want to talk about. So I'll probably make a whole nother video on this. But is salvation and uh, election the same? Okay, we've gone over this a lot, actually. Abraham's called, he's saved. Oh, election and salvation are conflated to mean the same thing in the Calvinistic worldview, because that's the contradiction they live in. But that's not true. Election and salvation are not um, synonymous. They're not. Why do we know? Because who was elected here? Isaac. To do what? For salvation? Is that what we're saying here? This unborn guy is elected unto salvation here. Mr. Determinist, Mrs. Determinist, Mr. Calvinist, Mrs. Calvinist. You know, this is what you guys have been saying to me over and over on repeat. Abraham's called in Genesis 12 and he was saved. No. Why do you say that? Because you conflate election with salvation, and that's not the case. What's happening right here? God is saying that Isaac is the elected one, is the chosen one, is the one that is, whatever other word you want to plug in there. Not Ishmael, but does that mean that Ishmael's not saved? We can't say that from this text. That's not true here. He's going to be blessed. He's going to be in a relationship with God. What's going on here? What is the election unto? Well, he tells us that. He says, "My covenant, but I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this season. I will establish my covenant, but my covenant I will establish with Isaac." That's what he's saying here. So is this salvation? I have elected him unto salvation before the foundation of the world, and through him because of this covenant. No, that's not what it says. That's what Calvin says. That's what John Piper says. That's what the million Johns of Calvinists say. But that's not true. He's saying, I am establishing my covenant for what? For the Messiah to come through, not Ishmael, not the one you can see, touch, feel. Um, that I he could have done that. God could do anything, but it's through the one that you have to trust in. That's who the promise is going to come on. And this is the bigger question I'm saying is I talk to so many Calvinists in election and salvation, or um, you know, one being chosen and salvation, always synonymous. They're always slated as one, and they're not. We know this throughout the biblical narrative. We know this. We're going to go over it a ton. Is that who was elected? Okay, Jacob, Israel, right? But everybody in Israel, are they saved? No. You know, the brother brought up, I will make that. He said, God, God, God's not responsible for rape in the same way He's not responsible for people eating their babies. Well, you're conflating 2 things there, my friend. Why did God make people have to eat their babies? Because they worship Moloch. They went after strange gods. That's a judgment on them. That's what's happening when they remove themselves. God didn't make them do that. See the craziness of this? The abort you have no leg to stand on against abortion. But we're talking about Moloch right here, which was abortion. You take your baby and you throw it in the fire and it's gone. And God said, "I hate that. Don't do that." Not God said, "I actually prefer that. I do that, and that's for my own glory." See what they're doing? They went with the volition of their will, threw their baby in the fire, or you go to the abortion clinic and you kill your baby, and God says, "I don't like that. Don't do that." And if you do that, what happened to the Israelites here? You went after going after another god, and he took his protection away, and then the consequences of that was what? Having to eat their own kids. Not just before the foundation of the world, he wanted them to do this for his own glory. It's election and salvation are not synonymous, and we know that because most all of Israel was elect, but lots of Israel was not saved, okay? You have to get this out of your mind. You have to erase this out of your mind. You have to get out of the Calvinistic system and look at it without your glasses on. Crush your glasses, throw them in the trash heap. Take the whole systematic and throw it in the dunghill. That's what you should do. Because that's what we're saying. You're turning God into a monster, and the consequences of this are going to be dire for you if you're wrong. You know, I'm wrong about God being way more loving than the monster that Calvin brings up to me. What's it to me when I die? Oh, God, you actually are monstrous? Okay, didn't know that. Didn't see that in the Bible, but okay. Yeah, I still believe in you. But what about for you, my friend, who you say God is some raping monster, you know? Maybe don't say that, but you're systematic. When you play it out to the end, is that, and then you show up and you find the all benevolent, the most loving creature who says, "I never want that." I don't decree these things. That's gonna be on you, my friend. And so we'll make a whole video on salvation not equaling, not being synonymous with election. And it's like that a lot in the Bible, guys. That's biblical theology. Election is one thing, salvation is one thing. Sometimes they overlap, but they're not synonymous. And so that was my big points that I wanted to hit on. It just goes on in the rest of it about the circumcision and all the men of the household being circumcised as according to what the Lord said. And so they followed it out by the volition of their will. Abraham was faithful to the covenant, not because God made him faithful, but because he truly is faithful by his own volition. Again, he wants to follow the Lord. It's not he's made to follow the Lord. Want and made are 2 different things, Calvinistic friends. You have to be able to see that, okay? I love you guys. I really enjoy making these videos for you, and I'll see you again for the next episode of uh, Calvinist contradiction, which we'll just say it right now, is gonna be the election and salvation not being synonymous. So, like this video, and again, pray about supporting me over here so I can make more content like this for you guys. I'm working on some books. I'll let you know about that in the near future. And yeah, have a blessed day.